Hi, my name's Natasha and I am the owner and creator of Forage Botanicals. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how the cosmetics that you're using might be contributing to your period problems. So before we talk about that, I think that it's good to start from the beginning. And that is my journey into herbal medicine and having this company. So when I left school, I joined a natural cosmetics company. And through them, I discovered the wonderful world of herbs, thank goodness, and learned a lot about why we would use natural cosmetics. And since then, people have always said to me, hey, Natasha, you know about cosmetics and you make them. Why don't you just sell your own cosmetics? And, you know, it sounds so nice and so simple that, you know, I just go and pick something and then like macerate it in an oil and then, hey, presto, I have a potion. That bit is really easy. Sadly, it's much harder to get a license for that product, and it costs money and it takes time to develop the product, etc. So up until now, I haven't gone down that route. But what I have been doing very recently is finding more and more companies in the UK who are making natural products, who are really interested in herbs and really know their stuff. And it's been such a joy to find them, and it's been even more of a joy to figure out that I can stock them on my own shop. So I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to talk to you today about, you know, why go natural with your cosmetics, and why it's important when it comes to your hormones. So let's have a little look. So a lot of the chemicals that are in unnatural products have been linked to contribute to a variety of hormone problems, including things like breast cancers, penile birth defects, decreased sperm counts, endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and also they think that they might be linked to the They think that it might be linked to girls having earlier and earlier starts of their periods as well. So, you know, why is that? And it's because a lot of those chemicals are classed as endocrine disrupting contaminants. Doesn't sound so great, does it? You wouldn't want to see that on the side of your product. Endocrine disrupting contaminants. And they, as you can kind of hear, they interfere with your hormones in various different ways and can create hormonal problems. So I wanted to raise 3 of these contaminants that you should be looking for in your products. One of them is parabens. These are chemical preservatives that go into loads of products because they help to kill fungus and bacteria, and they help preserve the product. Basically, they stop them from going off quite so quickly. Sounds good on the surface of things, but sadly have been linked to things such as breast cancer. The other thing to look out for is phthalates. These help with the absorbency of a product. So generally, I think they're in creams. They help them to absorb through the skin faster. Oh, actually, I've got a little list here. They go in things like deodorants, shampoos, body wash, hair gels, hairsprays, nail polishes. And they will contribute to things like birth defects in male babies. Aww. And then there is the infamous sodium lauryl sulfate. Not to be confused with sodium lauryl sulfate, which is derived from coconuts and is perfectly natural. Sodium lauryl sulfate gets shortened to SLS, and it's a surfactant. It helps things to foam, and it's in nearly everything that foams, including your toothpaste, your body wash, your shampoo, your other things that do that. And they have been linked to breast cancer and male fertility problems as well. So it's not looking good for these products, is it really? And they're cheap They're easy to get hold of for these companies, and they're reliable, so they go in almost all of them. It's really worth looking out for them in your product ingredients on the back. Just like you're already reading your food labels, you should be reading your cosmetic labels as well. And something that I really like to be very conscious of is that they have to list them in order of how much there is of it in the product. So the thing that there is the most of will be the first thing in the list. The thing there is the least of will be the last thing in the list. And sometimes some of these things are really high up there as like the main ingredient, which is kind of scary. So all of these things look like estrogen to the body, and some people say they behave like estrogen, but actually I found research that said that sometimes they behave like an antidote to estrogen. So where instead of increasing the kind of estrogen effects in the body, they're decreasing them. So my theory is that because they look similar, they can sit in an estrogen receptor and block that part. So you might be making estrogen, and if you had an estrogen test, it'd probably say you've got loads of estrogen, but you might be displaying low estrogen symptoms. Then, you know, maybe this is part of the problem, is that you're using chemical products that are disrupting the endocrine glands. It's part of the theory, basically. I was really surprised when I was researching this that there's no like definitive review that just says, yeah, these chemicals are linked with these problems. Lots of people, when I was learning about cosmetics, were basically saying that they cause them. Like they just definitively cause them, and that kind of contributed towards me being very angry towards these products, and it contributed towards me being like really vigilant, almost like an extremist when it came to using natural products, to my own detriment. I remember that I used to use these like ridiculous soap nuts, they were called. They're like a natural nut, supposed to be like soapy, and you put a few in a wash and you wash your clothes with them. Didn't work. My clothes always smelled really musty and gross at the end of it. That's not the case for everybody with these things, but it was the case for me. But I was so diligent about being eco-friendly with my products at the time that I was happy to walk around smelling musty and gross. So, yeah. I think that it's a bad thing for people to believe that these chemicals are contributing, like the cause of all these problems in life, when really they're a fairly big part of it, but there's a lot of other things that are going on that are also contributing to them. And all we can do as individuals is cut as much of it out of our daily routine as possible. Because at the end of the day, it's in our air, it's in our food supply, it's in our packaging, it's in the cleaning products we use. We're never going to be able to get rid of them completely unless legislation was passed that was worldwide saying that they couldn't use these chemicals anymore. So that kind of like brings me naturally to my next point, which is that people worry that natural products are not as good as the chemical stuff. And I would say that that did used to be the case. I think like in the noughties, when I was going really eco-friendly on everything and, you know, replacing everything with eco-friendly stuff, that, yeah, the quality wasn't necessarily as good. But nowadays, that isn't the case as much, especially when it comes to cosmetics. The creams are much thinner, they absorb better. Like, I just think that, yeah, they've improved vastly on what I remember them being like not very long ago, really, like 10 years ago. And when it comes to the things that I'm choosing for the shop specifically, I am making sure that they are really high quality. They're made by small producers in the UK, and they're made by people who really know their stuff when it comes to the herb. As part of all of that education, I'm launching a new brand next week in the shop called Anouk, and that is actually a friend of mine called Anu. And she's from Finland originally, and she's made this fabulous range of amazing essential oils, which she's been creating since she was using essential oils and things in her practice as a masseuse when I was working with her. And so it's really nice to be launching her products to the shop first. I've been using them around the house, in the bath, as a perfume, as a scent in the room, all sorts. It's been really lovely. And to launch that next week, I'm going to be sharing her story with you. So each one of the makers that I have launching the shop is going to share their story of how they came to make their products and why they're really passionate about their products and fun things like that. So I hope that helps a little bit to tell you to avoid these things: parabens, phthalates, and SLS. If you can avoid those three things, you're doing pretty good. And my shop's going to really help you do that and make it really easy to find products that you can trust that aren't going to mess up your hormones.